guys, Savannah Fisher, Rockin' Homes Realty. I'm here with
Joe Versput from Future Home Loans.
I always want to call you Joe V.
You can call me Joe V. That's what most people do.
Easier to remember.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
The Joe V mortgage team.
Yeah, he's with Future Home Loans, and today we just wanted to shoot a quick video on, 10 tips for first-time home buyers or for people that maybe haven't bought a home in a while and they don't really remember the process or, all the important things that need to be done. So, number one, most important thing is talking to someone like Joe. So I'll let Joe go ahead and start us off.
Yeah, everyone in your industry and my industry, that's usually the first recommendation if they've been doing it a while, because you don't want clients to go search for 20 homes on a weekend and waste their time and get their family's expectations up, and it's a bad experience. You want to call your lender prior to looking for a home. Once that conversation starts to become part of your family's conversation at the dinner table, get a hold of your agent. They'll hook you up with their preferred lender. We'd like to get you pre-qualified, and that way you can see if something comes up on your credit. You can know which target home range you're looking at and which area of town that value is going to fit in with the size and style of home you want. And then you can go around with what I call your walking papers. It's a pre-qualification letter. I do a very thorough pre-qualification. Some people kind of just do it, okay, cool, that's what you want, and they send you out. Mine, I don't like to set someone up to
for
go
failure.
For failure. I like success, right? So when they have that pre-qualification, they know that they're qualified for that home. They go put a bid in. You need it to put a bid in most cases, unless it's a birthday sale kind of thing, but you need that pre-qualification. The listing agent's going to ask you, make sure you're not kicking tires, and then you go from there. I kind of fall into the background a little bit. I'll be contacting you, touching base with you. Your real estate agent like Savannah will be touching base with me, keeping me posted on which homes are kind of in sight, and I can look up taxes. And then the rest I kind of hand over to Savannah, because that's her specialty. She knows what your needs are, such as areas.
I think the biggest thing about Joe that he hasn't mentioned is he is a broker. So you want to expand
brokers
on
are better.
what that means.
Yeah, brokers are better.
They're better. He's better.
I used to work at a bank, and they have certain things that are okay, but for the client experience, for the rates, for the speed and efficiency, brokers are better. They really are coming back into the space with a new revived feel to them. Prior to 2008, it kind of took the brunt of the market downfall on their shoulders, when it really, that's a whole other video. But our rates are highly competitive, mostly better than anyone in town. Our timing is ridiculous. I closed a loan in like 15 days last week. I answer my phone.
Which is unreal. Any of the big banks, you're looking at probably closer to 45 days to be able to close a loan. So.
Yeah, it's ownership too. A big bank, you're in the Henry Ford system of Quicken Loans or someone like that, where you're just little boxes of people. They're not as invested as I am or you are, and I'm local. I'm really a big advocate of going local, because I need to live off my reputation. So if I just shut my phone off and go away for the weekend, I won't get business from someone like Savannah. So I'm beholden to treat you like I would a family member, which is how I like to run my business. Don't get me wrong, it's awesome. And that's why I moved away from the banks into this space. It's a lot more enjoyable, and it's a great experience for the client.
Yeah, and it's all around just better for everyone. Like he said, things move faster. If there is an issue, it's resolved a whole lot quicker when you use someone local, especially like Joe, who's, so good at what he does and also takes such pride in what he does. So jumping from that, I think the next biggest thing is, once you have those pre-approval papers, is kind of figuring out what works for you and your family and what is most important to you guys. When that comes to whether you want to be, in the downtown area and more of like an urban setup, or you want to be in a suburban Nocatee neighborhood. That's the biggest thing, is figuring out what you want, what you need as far as bedroom and bathroom count goes, whether you want a garage, don't want a garage. Those kind of specifics definitely help us narrow down, along with the info you're going to get from Joe, which is basically where your comfort zone is, as well as what you can afford. That's going to be huge, because
100%.
that way we can really help find that perfect home for
North
your
Florida
family.
has so many different options. And you mentioned
Yes.
Nocatee. We're here in Jacks Beach.
Yep.
Northern Duval County has a lot of expansion going on there
And
with
it
some great
has
homes.
bigger lot lines, a little more rural area
Sure.
out that way. And then
Sure.
there's new construction subdivisions as well. I think Jacksonville is very diverse in what we have to offer in terms of properties and different feels you're going to get. You go out to Riverside or Avondale and you get the old historic homes, and they're so cool.
Right.
You
And that's
know.
where location kind of thing. So
Right.
kind of next tip we wrote down, location
Is key.
Is key. I'll give you, let's say here, your family can afford, trash
Yeah,
that.
we'll wait for that.
Your family can afford a $300,000 home. Okay, here you go. Maybe it's not everything you want, right?
Right.
And Savannah has a lot of experience in flipping or upgrading homes. She's got a whole network of people that'll come in and help if it's her own fix and flip, or just to recommend you for maybe a 2-year haul, you and your family or husband and wife project kind of thing, right?
Right. So, I mean, ultimately, the point of him saying all of that is that location should be your number one concern. You want to make sure you're somewhere that you want to be, and whether that means you don't have the updated bathrooms or you don't have the updated kitchen, I think working with an agent like myself who has experience in renovations can be super helpful in getting you that most important thing, which is location, and then being able to team you up with people that can help do the renovations to get it to your specifications.
Right. Or maybe it's turnkey, and that's
Yeah.
what you want too.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And that's okay too.
you have the area, you have the price range, and then you kind of let the professional take it over.
I think, something else people need to weigh out is cost of actually owning a home. I don't want anyone to get into a home that shouldn't, necessarily be in a home from the standpoint of there's always going to be maintenance. You're going to have to worry about utilities. You're going to have to worry about all these things. So I want to prepare them and give them a very comprehensive review of,
Yeah.
what homeownership is actually going to cost them. So something
Right.
I'm always going to do with any buyer I work with is make sure that they have an idea of what the utilities are going to cost, the property tax is going to cost, whether the roof is old and it's going to need replacement in a couple years. Those are all things that I want to bring to the table and make sure the buyer of the property understands fully what they're getting into.
Right. We don't want to. You and I have the same mentality. We're like a
Right.
real estate or loan officer for life. 5 years from now, I don't want someone to sit at a table and go, "Man,
You're the
no,
reason I
want the help."
foreclosed
Right.
on my
I
house
want
or
them to go.
something.
That guy put me into his credit repair program, and now I can buy a car for cheaper now or for less interest rate. And
Right.
you and I are here to help people.
We want to
for
help
the
you do
long
the
term.
right thing for the long term, exactly. We don't want to stick you in a situation that maybe you shouldn't be in due to repairs or just other additional costs. So things to think about are HOAs and CCD fees. A lot of times, that's on the back end of things, and realtors sometimes don't tell people until
CDD
they're...
ones sneak up too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the buildings going on. There's CDD fees that are required, and the St. Johns County area has a lot of that. That might be changing. I see some of the builders waiving them and doing some different things because the builders market's
It is
kind of
such a
waning
deterrent.
bit. For sure.
for people.
And speaking of that, let's talk about some building versus owning or buying a home that's already lived in.
Right, versus just buying something. I know we both have talked about how new construction is great in that you're getting exactly what you want. You're able to pick your paint color, flooring, everything when you build a home, which is a great thing to do, but at the same time, you have to have the time because it's going to take, 6 months, maybe sometimes longer, to be able to get that property ready for you. And then it is usually more expensive. A lot of times you can buy a house and put a little bit of money and work into it and, be in it for a whole lot less than what a new construction house would be. Those are things that every buyer needs to weigh pros and cons and what works best for them, because what works for one person is never going to be the same for the next. So
Never. And if you want to live in Jacks Beach, new construction is not that much of an option here. But
Right.
St. Johns County, you're kicking over builder. It's
that's all there
almost
is.
a little bit too much if you want to get personal here.
Something else to think about new construction as well is how long you plan on being there. Because something that I've seen a couple of times is that's the house for these people right now in their stage of life. But a couple years from now, they may want to have kids and get a bigger house and expand. And something to think about and definitely keep in mind is if that contractor or construction company is still building in the neighborhood, it's often really hard to sell your house when you're competing against new construction.
Yeah, I've run into that with Kim, a friend of mine that's a realtor. We were doing an open house, and they were a military family, and they moved and they wanted to sell the home. And they had built a new community right next to it, and so your home is automatically, unless you're going to be there for long haul, your home is devalued if they're going to build something else right next to it.
Because the idea of them being able to pick everything
it's a
themselves versus your house, even though I'm sure it's lovely and brand new as well, there's something about the stigma of a lived-in house versus a non-lived-in house.
I agree. Sometimes you work out the kinks in a lived-in house, and sometimes the new builds are.
Yeah.
I have friends that are over the moon with their new homes down in Nocatee, so it's
same here.
Everyone likes different things. If everyone liked the same thing, you couldn't afford it.
Get everything in writing and make sure everything that you're signing is explained to you in a way that you understand it and you feel comfortable signing what you're signing. Don't ever let someone say to you, "Oh, well, that's not really what that means," or "Don't worry about that." If it has weird wording, 9 times out of 10, you don't want to put your name on that line if you're not understanding what it means. So when I say get it in writing, get it in writing, but also make sure what you're signing is exactly what you think you're signing.
Agreed, yeah, and ask questions.
Definitely.
If you're doing a transaction just like with us, pick up the phone, text us.
Email,
if I'm on the phone, I'll send you that automated text that pops right up that everyone sees. So if people don't answer their phone, they have that, "Hey, I'll call you back," and then you call the client back. They know you're engaged. We know you're engaged. We know that we don't lose sight that this is the most important purchase that you're probably going to make maybe a couple times in your life. So get it in writing and ask questions, a real big one. And then full disclosure and a home inspection. So that's really your wheelhouse right there.
Right. So a lot of times with first-time home buyers, they don't realize that in the state of Florida, you have a requirement as a seller to give full disclosure, whether that means they filled out the seller's disclosure or they are verbally or in an email telling you everything that they know is wrong with the house. Obviously, we very much so prefer that they fill out the seller's disclosure so nothing's missed and they don't think like, "Oh, oops, I forgot to say, yeah, we've had a plumbing issue for the last 5 years and didn't tell you," or "we had a foundation work and didn't tell you," or
I had a seller say it's as is.
We're not filling out the disclosure.
He said, "I'm selling it as is. Why do you need a home inspection?" I'm like,
"Oh yeah, oh my God, yeah."
So yes,
just
it's as is.
Just because it says as is does not mean you don't get a home inspection done.
The buyer wants to know that maybe you don't. You're as is. Who knows if there's rats lining the whole wall? We don't know. So this is looking out for you as a buyer. Have a home inspection, and to kind of how it goes. Like I have a deal right now. Actually, they had a home inspection last week. There's some issues on the siding. The sellers are typically going to work with you on that. It's not going to stop the deal. So the appraiser goes out. "Hey, okay, I noted the errors or the issues with the home. We know it's going to be fixed." The appraiser does a re-inspection prior to close. The sellers typically pay for that as part of the deal, and it's renegotiated, but that's where it usually ends up. And then we go back out prior to closing. We make sure it's all fixed prior to issuing a loan on the home, and then you live in the home and everything's fixed. It's all good. But without that home inspection, you'd have some
really have no
sneaky
idea
little
what you're
issues
getting
going
into.
on. Agreed.
And like you said, it's one of your single biggest investments. So a lot of times people gawk at the $700 or $800 fee for this home inspection, but it's so comprehensive. And if you've ever looked at one, they're usually 40 to 50 pages, and the detail on them is insane. But as a huge investment, that's what you want. You want to know what's behind those walls and
you don't
what you're getting into.
Replace something in 2 years that's going to just blow out your whole
budget.
Yeah. And so, talk about some of the things that prior to purchasing that we check on. We make sure the client is aware of.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. So the biggest things towards the end of it is going to be getting homeowners insurance and flood insurance if it's required by a lender. I'm going to tell you personally, my experience is 9 times out of 10, I'm going to tell you need to have the flood insurance, whether or not you're in a flood zone. I think I've mentioned this before, but I'm a couple blocks from the ocean and I'm not in a flood zone. But realistically,
I'm in Jack's Beach and I'm not in a flood zone, but
we're going to be underwater if we get hit with a hurricane. So be smart about that. Make sure you're protecting your asset Flood insurance is only a couple $100s a year. So that's my rant on that. Definitely talk to your agent about that, but highly recommend it. Another thing worth mentioning is a home warranty. You know, most buyers that I work with, I have them request a home warranty, whether they want one or not, because a lot of times they don't understand
Sometimes
how
it's in the
beneficial.
contract a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
How beneficial that can be to them, especially after you purchase a home. Last thing you want to do is move in and the AC stops working, and it's $5,000 to fix it.
and you just bought your home and
yeah.
your new furniture. That's the last thing you want. Yeah.
So home warranties are awesome. And then when it comes to your title company, a lot of times that's an afterthought, and a lot of buyers don't even realize that title's involved at all.
They don't really know, unless you're
what
like,
they do.
in our kitchen, I like to
Yeah.
call it. You know, you're not in the kitchen, you kind of don't know all the ingredients, and we'll inform you. You hear closing or title or whatever, they're making sure that the home doesn't have any other liens on it. They're checking the tax
Which
records.
is huge.
Yeah,
You don't want to buy a house and
a
then
mechanic's
find out
lien,
there's
someone
a
that
lien.
fixed the roof 3 years ago threw a lien on it, and
Yeah.
no one knew, and you close, and then you've got a lien on your home that you're beholden to. So this is what a title company will do. They'll make sure that there's no liens on the home, among other things that
And they provide title insurance, basically guaranteeing that clear title as well,
Right.
which is super important whether you're buying cash or however. Don't ever waive the title insurance. It's a couple $100s and so crucial.
Right.
If you're buying with a loan, you have to have
Yes.
title insurance, so
Yes.
that's not something to worry about. And then, another topic we want to talk about is taxes and how
Property
important towards the end of, your purchase is. You want to make sure probably that those payments are rolled into your mortgage.
Yeah, the very few people pay them separate. When I worked at Merrill Lynch, people with 10 homes, they had a little bit of a different system where, they didn't typically escrow. I'd say 98% of the population escrows taxes and insurance.
Which means that a small portion of your monthly payment that you're paying to the mortgage company is going in a separate account for your taxes and insurance. So when they come due every year, those are paid.
Right, and so you buffer those at closing. And this is one of the common conversations of customers I have is, well, I thought it was coming out of my monthly payment, your taxes plus your homeowner's insurance divided by 12. But if the bill is due, there'd be nothing in there when you buy the home to pay it.
Right.
So you actually buffer that account up front at closing, and then you're restocking that account
for next year.
Right, and then when the bill comes up, we pull that out, and then you restock for the following year, and we pull it out. If it's, back in the day, there were some issues with the way those were managed. It's heavily regulated now, which is very nice for the customer. One of the regulations I like, if you have overage, they give you a check back if it's over 10%. It's a real the homeowner's exemption one.
We wanted to touch on homestead exemption because a lot of times, especially now where we're seeing all these investment properties come on the market and buyers are moving into them as their primary residence, the taxes from the year before were not homesteaded.
And you'll pay that for a little bit, like for the remainder of the year.
You'll pay the old taxes are higher, so your mortgage and everything else is going to be set up based on that prior tax number.
Correct. Yeah. So you'll be using that previous year's tax bill to set the taxes up. Until then, you and your family can go claim it as your homestead. By March 1st in our county of every year, you
have to do it.
File it. So once you file it, you'll take $50,000 off the value of the home. But it's not just that cut and dry, by the way. So there's other things for veterans, disabilities, widows, all sorts of different discounts you can get with that homestead exemption. Now, if you're an investor, you're going to pay the typical county tax millage rate. If you're a homeowner and you're making it your homestead, you really need to go. I've heard online and I've heard downtown, and more people are pushing towards downtown because you can go ask the correct questions, make sure that you're getting all of the discounts.
And getting confirmation that it's been done. And usually I tell people within 30 days of closing, you want to do it. No matter if you have 9 months or 10 months to make it happen, because let's be honest, life happens and people forget.
100%.
And the last thing you want to do is pay several $1,000s more in taxes because you forgot to file a homestead exemption.
Yeah.
So, definitely something to look into, and to make sure whether you're using us as your agent and mortgage broker or someone else, ask those questions and make sure at closing you have all the info needed to file that.
Right. So I think that's all we have for today.
Yeah, number
Thanks for
10.
sticking with it. 10.
Use us.
Oh yeah, number 10 is use us, right? Yeah. So
Yep.
savannahandjoev@gmail.com. We'll
Yep.
put the little tag on there. savannahandjoev@gmail.com is our message email box for everybody.
If you have questions or you are just starting the process and you really don't even know where to go or what to do, email us. Send us any questions you have. We're happy to help, whether that's credit repair. Joe has somebody he works with that's great at that. We're just leading you in the right direction, whether that's renting for now or being able to buy your house. We're here to answer those questions and help you through the process.
Yep, and that's all I got. And just like as always, I mentioned I'm a veteran. I always like helping my fellow veterans take advantage of their benefits. Every week now I've got a new story of someone that kind of didn't know which benefits they had, and I'm here to help them, guide them in the right direction, even if they're using someone else. Kind of make sure that you are taking advantage of the benefits that you earned by joining the military. So also get a hold of me if you're a veteran in town. I'd love to help you with anything like that. Yep.
Yeah, and today our little local spot, just want to tell you guys about it, is I keep screwing up the name.
The Ugly Cupcake Muffinry.
I can't
It's a
remember
mouthful,
it.
but their food's really good.
The food's good. It's such a quaint little place. I'd never even been here. I've lived here my whole life.
I used to
didn't
live
even
like
know
3 blocks that way and
this
surf right over
existed.
here.
But it's like a cute little Victorian style home, right a block from the ocean, and great setup. So definitely come check them out.
Yep, it is. And I think that's all we got for today.
Yeah.
I'm going to start to mumble at this point. So see everyone soon. Thanks for tuning in.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.